The chief guest of inaugural function of this series of invited lectures of eminent scholars organized online for UG students of colleges affiliated to S.R.T.M.University, Nanded, Honorable and highly respected Dr. Dilip Chavan sir, the chairperson and principal of first college, that is SHIVAJI MAHAVIDYALAYA Udgir, Dr. V. Jadhav, and MU College, Dr. Tamboli sir, one of the conveners and chief hosts, head of the Department of PG Department of English, Professor Dr. S.R. Nagori, Lakhotiya ma'am, the resource persons of the first session, which will be followed after this inaugural session, and who are present here, Dr. Dhananjay, Associate Professor, Government Vidarbha Institute of Science and Humanities, Amravati, and Professor Dr. Manisha Eliot, Professor, People's College, Nanded. The organizing committee members, Dr. Kamlakar Gavane, Raja Udgir, sir, Mr. Munde, Ambesange sir, my colleagues, Dr. Gutte and P.D. Mane, and teachers and students who have registered and joined with us here through Zoom platform, and those who are accessing this event through YouTube live streaming. A very good morning to one and all. The pandemic of COVID-19 affected around 98% of world's teacher-student population up to last few months since March 2020. The restrictions like lockdown and social distancing were not allowing us to go colleges and universities. There was no alternative for us to opt online mode for our instruction till the normalcy which is being restored since last couple of months. When will everything be all right? When will we again join our normal schedules and classes? These were questions before all of us. Everywhere there was doubt. A mere virus changed our entire schedule, life and lifestyle. And the area or the factor of the sector highly affected is our educational sector. We all were in mental dilemmas. Until now, it was clear that we have to build up strategies to cope up with the situation, and we entered in a new online world, redefined our resources and modes of educational deliveries. And from coming 15th February, as per the government's regulations, we are reverting from this an unfamiliar mode of teaching learning to normal regular one, talk and talk, or say on the stage, or you may simply say it offline, lecturing. Hence, we, the Department of English of SHIVAJI MAHAVIDYALAYA Udgir and Department of English of Udayagiri MAHAVIDYALAYA Udgir, thought to give the intellectual feast to students and teachers during last 4 days of this phase, of this mode of instruction, to utilize techniques and resources with which we are acquainted in the last period of uncertainty and chaos, and to reach to most of the students and teachers of the different colleges of S.R.T.M. Nanded jurisdiction, and give the best lectures by equally the best resource persons. We took a formal meeting and planned this 4 days series of invited lectures and organized it under the MOU signed between Department of English, SMU and MUMU. And so we are here today. We got overwhelming response. Ma'am will talk about it in her introductory speech. Rest of the details will be given by her. I welcome once again you all and request Dr. S.R. Nagori Lakhotiya for her introductory talk. She is a professor and head, the Department of English, MU College, one of the chief conveners and host of this event, who is with us in this initiative in leading role and with full of her enthusiasm and support. Dr. Nagori Lakhotiya ma'am, please proceed.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Tagore pens down in his Gitanjali. I slept and dreamt that life was joy. I awoke and saw that life was service. I acted and behold, service was joy. And yes, here we are with the joy of academic service. Good morning, everybody. I extend a warm and gracious welcome to the 4-day university level invited online lecture series for the UG students of S.R.T.M.U. jointly organized by the SHIVAJI Mahavidyalaya and Maharashtra Udayagiri Mahavidyalaya under the MOU. At the outset, I feel highly honored to welcome the chief organizer and the chairperson of the inaugural session, Dr. V.A. Jadhav, Principal, SHIVAJI College. I would also like to welcome the highly esteemed co-host principal, Professor R.R. Tamboli of Maharashtra Udayagiri Mahavidyalaya, principal to the joint academic endeavor for the students of S.R.T.M.U. University. It is indeed a scholastic feast for all the participants, and we have amongst us an outstanding and vibrating academician as the chief guest of the inaugural function, Professor Dilip Chavan, Head Department of English, School of Language, Literature and Culture Studies, Swami Ramanand Tirth Marathwada University, Nanded. Sir, I genuinely thank you for sparing time for us and from your busy schedule. We feel highly privileged to extend a warm welcome to all the enthusiastic resource persons of all the sessions who readily gave their acceptance to render their services and expertise on the topics specified by them. We are able to experience the delight of the overwhelming response from all the energetic student friends from different colleges on this purely digital webinar mode platform. Frankly speaking, this unique and first of its kind web conference is the brainchild of the highly techno-savvy personality and the principal host, Dr. Navle, the head of the department, SHIVAJI College, Udgir, in coordination with other colleagues of him. It is a sincere endeavor for the students in this COVID-19 pandemic times to help them out with their apprehension of the syllabus. And this will certainly give solace to the baffled state of mind of the students at present. And to achieve this, we received the wholehearted support of all the faculties to make this academic event a grand success. It is a matter of great honor for us to have a towering academic personality, Dr. Dhananjay Deolalkar from Government Institute, Vidarbha Institute of Science and Humanities, Amravati, to be the lead speaker. He will speak on T.S. Eliot's tradition and individual talent. This will be followed by another resourceful literary enthusiast, Professor Manisha Gehlot, who will speak on Greek master Aristotle. The authorities of the next session of today are Dr. P.D. Shitore from Srimati Sushila Devi, Deshmukh Mahavidyalaya, Latur, and Dr. Mahendra Shinde from Nutan College, Selu. They will speak on speech sounds and phonetics. We have taken due care to include skill enhancement course also. And we have Dr. Vinod Sonone to speak on this scholarly part. All the sessions of today are devoted to third-year students. Tomorrow, that is day 2, all the sessions will be devoted to second-year optional and SEC. The third day will be devoted to optional students of first year, and the last day and the concluding day will be devoted and committed to the students of compulsory English of first year and second year of all the streams. The web conference will aims to help the students to face the examination in MCQ pattern. We are very much aware that we won't be able to cover the entire syllabus, but a good beginning is never unwelcome. We have 12 sessions in total. I make a sincere appeal to all the participants to participate in their respective sessions and derive benefit from the session's academic deliberations. To conclude, once again, a grand and cheerful welcome to all. I express my gratitude to the organizers for giving me an opportunity to have a word with you and look forward for vibrant sessions in the forthcoming days. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I would like to request Dr. R.R. Tamboli, Principal of Maharashtra Udayagiri College, for his welcome speech. Professor Dr. Tamboli is head of the Department of Microbiology Department and presently working as acting principal. He has participated in a number of national and international conferences, seminars, workshops. He has been invited as a resource person for different invited talks on different occasions. And one more notable thing I would like to mention here, that he has one patent registered to his name. Most welcome, Principal Dr. Tamboli, sir. Please proceed for your welcome speech. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to congratulate the Department of English of SHIVAJI Mahavidyalaya and Maharashtra Udayagiri Mahavidyalaya Udgir for jointly organizing online lecture series for the undergraduate students of Swami Ramanand Tirth Marathwada University, Nanded. Under the Memorandum of Understanding, it is the need of hour in this COVID-19 pandemic situation, where the students are in baffled state of mind. And in this situation, the Department of English of both the colleges have tried to comfort the students through the syllabi-oriented conference. On behalf of both the colleges, I heartily welcome today's chief guest and the renowned academic personality, Dr. Dilip Chavan, Head Department of English, School of Language, Literature and Culture Studies, S.R.T.M.University, Nanded. All the resource persons who have accepted to address the students on their specific topics for this web conference. It also gives me immense pleasure to see the wonderful response given by the faculties and the students as well. The principal of SHIVAJI College, Dr. V.A. Jadhav and Dr. Navle have taken the initiative and have a major contribution for the grand success of this web conference. This innovative idea can be an example for everyone. Once again, I welcome and congratulate all the resource persons, faculties, and all the student participants for registering themselves in this 4-day online web conference. I wish you all a grand success and expect the students to get the best of it. Lastly, I thank the organizer for giving me an opportunity to welcome you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Tamboli, sir. Now I would like to request Professor Dr. Dilip Chavan for his much awaited inaugural speech. But before this, though he is known to all of us, his formal introduction is must. He is a professor and head Department of English, School of Language, Literature and Culture Studies, S.R.T.M.University, Nanded. Though he is officially specializes in social linguistics, it seems Dalit literature, subaltern, marginal literature is his favorite part. He is a bilingual author and has many books and research papers, chapters, and keynote and plenary talks in both English and Marathi to his credit. He has written something in Hindi also, some text also. He worked as coordinator, Center for Foreign Languages, coordinator, Soft Skill and Personality Development Program, the Babasaheb Ambedkar Chair and Study Center, and he is my senior colleague on the Board of Studies in English of our S.R.T. parent university. He has also worked as a member of the committee constituted for writing Human Development Report of the Beed district, which was funded by the UNDP and Yashoda, Pune. He is associated with All India Forum for Right to Education. He was also associated with Indian Institute of Advanced Study, Simla, a renowned institute located at Himachal Pradesh, as an associate for 3 years. He has devoted his life for Ambedkarian thoughts. I request him to deliver his inaugural talk. Dear Dr. Chavan sir, please.
Thank you very much for introducing me to this gathering. I am very much thankful to the organizers for inviting me to this event which has been jointly organized. So I'm happy that uh, nowadays during the pandemic, several colleges and universities do come together and they organize events in mutual coordination and cooperation. So this is really a sort of a benchmark in the jurisdiction of our university, where we find uh, uh, colleges and universities in Marathwada and also in Maharashtra and also in the wider sense India have been facing several problems because of many reasons. Particularly, poverty is a serious problem in India, and the Corona pandemic has taught us how we should be looking at our life. So it has given us a sort of an opportunity to reconsider our own ideas pertaining to education, learning, and also life in general. This is really a very great kind of sort of say uh, problem for the entire humanity in the world. We all know that millions of people have lost their lives, and crores of people in the world have been affected by this pandemic. And education sector has remained one of the most we can say affected sectors so far as the impact of the corona pandemic is concerned. And this has really been having say serious kind of adverse kind of impact here in the Marathwada region, uh, where we have 8 districts, and all of these 8 districts have been identified as the poorest. I mean, one of the, I mean, these 8 districts are, they occur in the list of 100 most backward districts in India. So this is really a very pathetic kind of a situation if you look at the world around us in Marathwada, in the villages and towns, and also in the cities. So poverty seems to be a very kind of say standing kind of scenario. Wherever you go, wherever you just have a look at, you will find that there are all sorts of problems. And during the pandemic, these problems have become even more kind of say serious because the impact has been having really a very serious kind of thing for all of us. So, but technology also is a problem. So far as the statistics is concerned, we can understand that only 15% of the school-going children could have access to the internet in India. And I don't know, I mean, what must be the case with
Hello.
Marathwada, where backwardness is
कौन
something which is deep-rooted. So far as colleges
हाँ
are
बोला ना मैं
concerned, the college students also have been affected immensely by
मी
this
ऑनलाईन
pandemic.
क्लास घेतोय
And very
मग मी
slow,
क्लासच्या
you
नंतर
know,
फ्री झालो की फोन करू मॅम तुम्हाला तुम्ही अमरावतीत आलाय
yeah, somebody is speaking, so
Yeah,
I
yeah.
request
From
the
audience,
person.
नाही मी 2 वाजेपर्यंत बिझी आहे मॅम मी घरी आहे आणि ऑनलाईन क्लास घेतो
from audience, I request to mute you
Okay.
all. I'm muting all. Please proceed.
Yeah,
Dr.
yeah. So we have been undergoing very green period of our life. This is an unprecedented kind of crisis. The world never had such a kind of say universal crisis pertaining to health ever before. Uh, and the way it was to be dealt with at an international level also is something that is unprecedented. And realizing the gravity of the issue, it was decided that the schools be closed towards the end of March, and even now, means after almost a year, we find that we haven't yet been able to restore our normalcy. So far as the colleges are concerned, the classes are still going on through online mode, and there are all kinds of problems in our university departments. Not even half of the students do attend the classes regularly. So we can understand how difficult it must have been for all of us to cope with the situation. there was a survey conducted by some of the psychologists in India, and they found that around 73% of the population of India has been psychologically affected by the crisis. So you can imagine what must have been the impact of this crisis on the students, uh, particularly undergraduate and postgraduate students who are at the turning point of their career. So I understand how difficult it is for all of us to deal with this issue. And this college conducted an international event last year, and now this is again a sort of a lecture series through this online mode. So I really appreciate the organizers for using technology in such a creative and meaningful way, so as to make this period of crisis more bearable for all of us. It's really difficult to overcome the crisis. I don't know how long it will take for us to overcome this crisis, and I don't know when this normalcy will be restored. But then I hope that with the use of technology and compassion, which has been a gift to us from the Buddha, we can certainly overcome this issue. So let us speak about what we can do for the students and what the students can do for themselves during the pandemic. I mean, this is not yet over. So it will take a long time perhaps to overcome the crisis. And even after the crisis is over, we will have to continue dealing with the newer challenges ahead. This is what the scientists have warned us. So this is not the end of the story. So perhaps there is something else in store in future. So let us be prepared for this. We realized during the pandemic that on the one hand, we could see several governmental organizations and non-governmental organizations and several activists coming forward to help those who were in need of this help in the cities and the villages. But on the other hand, we could also see a great amount of sort of indifference to the wider masses, to the toiling people, to say the working people, to the housewives, to the children also. And we can see how these sections, which occupy the lower rungs of the society, were affected by the corona pandemic, and how there was a sort of apathy, sort of indifference, sort of callous kind of a perspective, elitist kind of a perspective, which was very much evident in the way these people were treated. So there was a sort of contradictory situation experienced in India during the months of April, May, and June. So I hope you remember how several workers had to face hard times when they met with an accident in Jalna during the hard lockdown. So this kind of contradiction is indicative of how our society is marked by some kind of deeper contradictions, and this will certainly become a serious concern in future. There are many problems. For example, the market has become widely active, nationally and internationally active. There are hundreds of IT companies which became suddenly active, and they made huge investment in the technology so as to make money. And let me tell you that one of the most popular apps now used for learning through online mode has been made available to the students by a company called Baiju. So I have been following this company for the last year, and I could notice that in the beginning of this pandemic, the company had employed 3,000 people. So it was the normal kind of employees before the pandemic began. But soon after the outbreak of the pandemic, the company realized the importance of the potential in the use of technology in education, and the company began to spread its network throughout India. Marathwada is not an exception to this. Latur and Nanded are the districts where the Baiju has its own representatives and other kind of network. So the total number of employees has risen now to around 9,000 plus, and the turnover has increased immensely. So I will request you to visit the Wikipedia note and perhaps some other material available to you on the private enterprise that has become so proactive, so we can say um, so alert during the pandemic. So this will provide some greater opportunities to those who can afford. I mean, if you are doing sort of say +2 level education in science, you have to pay around 2 lakhs of rupees to these private companies to have access to their videos or online teaching. So a wider say section of the society really cannot afford to pay such a huge amount to these companies in order to have access to the video lectures and perhaps other e-resources, e-material. So this technology is not an answer to all the questions. Technology is certainly going to create a kind of say division in the society, which there already was a division, and this monopolizing technology for making money certainly will widen what is called as a digital divide. So we need to be careful. We need to be really um, careful about the way technology is being used by the private agents in order to make money and say make these resources available to the to those who can really afford them. Now another question for all of us is to how to use technology for democratizing knowledge resources. So there have been attempts internationally. For example, there is a movement called copyleft movement, which believes in democratizing knowledge through say through I mean by making all sorts of resources available to all sorts of people without really charging a single penny. So there are these kinds of say copyleft resources material available on the website. For example, there is a website which I would request all of you to visit. It is called Libgyn, Library Genesis. This was an initiative made by the Russian scientists in order to make millions of books, journals, then also say other documents available to the wider society free of cost. There is another website called archive.org, ARCHIVE, archive.org, and there is a more popular resource base called PDF Drive. So these are some of the resources which are available on the internet free of cost, and we should hopefully look forward to some such attempts becoming stronger in the future, so that the idea of monopolizing e-resources, monopolizing knowledge resources, which is otherwise built socially. I mean, there is no private individual really contributing to the knowledge base. We are the private individuals, but we are also an outcome of the wider, say, social system, wider, say, knowledge system, which was collectively developed by our ancestors. So, in view of this social context of knowledge, we have to see how we can really use technology in a more positive and egalitarian manner, so as to make knowledge resources more democratically available, more freely available to the wider society. So far as students are concerned, here in Marathwada or in the wider Maharashtrian context, we can see how every student has to have a smartphone. Smartphones are not that we can say um, uh, say cheaper to buy, and we have to pay these companies for having access to the data, so that we can use data for video lecturing, all that. So it is not at all easy for the students to do that. So in this kind of a situation, what can the colleges do, what can the universities do, and what can the government do? I mean, these are some of the wider questions that we need to be aware of, and I am happy that this college has taken initiative in using technology for reaching out to the wider society, and giving a message to the wider society that the pandemic cannot really defeat us. But such isolated attempts need, need to be multiplied so that we can really address this question in a more meaningful manner. So far as literature is concerned, yeah, it's good that we are all the students of literature, because literature really helps us understand life in a better manner. Literature is different from other, say, sciences and social sciences also, where literature takes us beyond statistics, beyond data, beyond, say, the mere facts, which really make more amount of, say, ambiguity and chaos so far as our attempt of understanding the reality around us is concerned. And the writers have really dealt with some similar kinds of crisis in the past also. So we can see how there were writers such as, say, uh, Albert Camus and Gabriel Garcia and Rabindranath Tagore, who tried to deal with the such health-related crisis before. Rabindranath Tagore wrote one story where we find a servant sacrificing his life, during, say, the plague. So, a pandemic such as the plague certainly had a very adverse kind of impact on the poor, on the slaves, on the half slaves, on the, say, say, the landless laborers who had no other job but to work hard on the farms of the landlords or on the feudal lords. So our society is a fractured kind of a society. It is divided along several lines, and when we face kind of a crisis also doesn't have a uniform impact on the society. So the corona pandemic has already proven how this pandemic has had a very differentiated impact on the families, where women were forced to work hard. They were also forced to bear a great amount of domestic violence and sexual violence. And now we have statistics available, and we can see how gender does matter when we try to, say, really address the question of, say, pandemic as such. So this uh, crisis has taught us to rework our own ideas. It has taught us to see how we are going to address the questions such as inequality, segregation, and alienation in the society. So far as the students are concerned, I think students are the real victims of this crisis, because uh, many of them really had never experienced these online classes and using technology, and many of them really did not have access to smartphone, and coverage again is a problem in India, also in Marathwada, where electricity, regular supply of electricity also is not ensured. So how are we going to really cope with such a kind of crisis ahead, such a kind of crisis in future? Is also is not a problem really solved for all of us. So students have faced a lot, and during this period, I think the students have shown a great amount of courage. There is a great amount of courage that the students have shown across India. There were no classes, no schools, no colleges, and no universities running in a proper manner. But then, despite this kind of, say, chaos in the educational field, the students had to face this crisis, and they have shown courage to face with this. There is a university in Aurangabad, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Marathwada University, where the students have been protesting for starting the classes through offline mode. So this is a very novel kind of a movement initiated by the students, where the students are not demanding for, say, any kind of, say, facility pertaining to tuition fees, or they are not making any kind of protest for scholarship or any other personal or other demands. So their demand is to start the classes through offline mode, and for that they have to assemble before the main building of the university, and they have to make the vice chancellor and the chancellor listen to their demands. So this is indicative of how uh, uh, the students have faced during the last 8 to 9 or 10, we can say now, months. And there is time ahead, perhaps, where the students will have to wait for some more weeks for the classes to begin through offline mode. Uh, there are other issues also, like uh, our students really are very weak so far as their own ability to communicate their ideas and views are concerned. Internationally, we see how there are sociolinguists who have proved that the students coming from various linguistic backgrounds and more challenged backgrounds, such as the slums and the rural parts of uh, the world, and the poverty-stricken kind of, say, sections of the society. Uh, these these scientists have proved, social scientists also have proved, and most importantly, the sociolinguists also have proved that these students can use their own communication skills in a more effective manner than the students who come from the well of society, from the, say, more established sections of the society. So let me tell you a little about William Lebau, who is one of the founders of social linguistics. So Lebau has told us how the black slum dwelling children of New York City could speak English more effectively than the white middle class children living in the apartments, living in the more middle class kind of, say, localities. So far as educational attainment and ability to use language is concerned, the students coming from the lower class backgrounds, the students coming from the rural background, or the students coming from the more challenged kind of, say, background, can use language more effectively, primarily because they grow up in a multilingual, multi-ethnic, multicultural, and more challenged surrounding. So this kind of peculiar surrounding makes them use their own intelligence and linguistic competence to cope with the more complex situation around them. So our own adversity teaches us to develop certain skills, certain, say, abilities, which can be used for overcoming the crisis in the life. But certainly, this doesn't help. We have to grow, we have to develop, we have to think, and we have to, say, really continue sharpening our own abilities. We have to continue, say, strengthening our own abilities so as to be able to stand the cutthroat competition in the society. And for this to happen, I mean, to be able to make ourselves eligible during, say, the period of crisis, we have to be more alert and make sure that we do develop certain abilities so as to make ourselves more capable in the world marked by competition and violence and cruelty. So how can we achieve this? I think for this the students have to work hard. Let me tell you that the European students and the American students read almost twice the Indian students do. So in terms of the number of hours that the American students spend, the university and college students spend in reading, it is much higher than the average number of hours that the Indian students spend. So we cannot afford to be lazy, we cannot afford to be casual so far as our own commitment to knowledge is concerned. So we have to be more dedicated to the cause of knowledge, if at all we have to survive, if at all we have to lead, if at all we have to have, say, qualitative life. Let me tell you that Indian education system really has not fared well. Uh, we are among the worst educational systems in the world. Uh, If you follow different parameters, different international reports, different say indices which are created for judging the development of the nations, we find that India has not really done well. We do not figure in the best say 100 universities or the best 200 universities, and sometimes even among the best 300 universities. Our scientists are not cited internationally so widely. Only 4 scientists, uh, I mean Indian scientists, figure in the list of best 4,000 scientists, which was prepared a few years back. So we are not doing well so far as quality is concerned. This ASR report was published several times. It used to be published annually, and this has taught us how India is not doing well so far as quality of education is concerned. So this lack of quality in education certainly expects us to work hard and make ourselves more eligible so far as the international competitive world, international competition in the world of say um, education and employment is concerned. If we do not really rework our own ideas, if we do not really reconsider our own assumptions about life, education, and knowledge system, I think we will not be able to survive. We will not be able to have the minimum, we can say, quality in life. It is in the economic terms, it is called as minimum quality. It is called as say average amount of prosperity that a person requires for having healthier and more peaceful and prosperous life. So if we certainly have this kind of say minimum quality in life, we have to struggle hard. A large section of the Indian society has remained deprived of the fruits of modernity, the fruits of the industrial revolution, or we can say the fruits of democracy also. According to a survey conducted by one national agency in India, only 12% of the Indians are functionally literate. So if you follow the census data, you will find that India is marching towards 10% literacy. But so far as functional literacy is concerned, only 12% of the Indians are functionally literate. By functionally literate, what we mean is that the people who can use their own ability to read and write in a more meaningful manner in the society. Merely reading the text, reading letters, reading sentences doesn't help. It doesn't suffice. We should be able to use our own ability to read and write to make our life greater and nobler. So can we certainly use our own ability to read and write to make our life more prosperous, more qualitative? So the answer is, so far as India is concerned, the answer is 88% of the literate are not in a position to use their own ability to read and write to make their life more prosperous, more qualitative. So
I think that Chavan sir is facing internet problem.
am I not audible?
Yes, yes, sir. You are not. Some technical problem was there. Even though, sir, I request you to conclude because Dr.
Yeah,
Deolalkar has one another Zoom meeting with some
yeah,
UG.
yeah. I'm going to finish.
Yeah.
Yeah, so far as ability to use English is concerned, the census data tells us that more than 50% of the Indians are able to use English and all that. But there is a professor from Jawaharlal Nehru University named Ajit Kumar Mohanty who has told us that only 3% of the Indians are really in a position to use English in an effective manner. If that is the case, we need to see how we are going to democratize English education in India and how technology can help us in this. So here I stop. I had certain stray remarks to make, and I hope you are in a position to make sense of these remarks. So I thank the organizers, particularly Dr. Naulesa, for inviting me to speak here, and hope that we continue to have more meaningful dialogue ahead. So thank you very much, sir.
बोले सर आवाज येत नाही.
Sir, unmute your mic. Nole sir, please unmute your mic.
आवाज येत नाही.
फोन आलता तो मला पटकन सांगायला पाहिजे होतं. Okay. Once again, I'm thankful to Dr. Chavan sir for sparing his valuable time, because he had one online lecture, but he has adjusted it for the sake of this event. Thank you, Dr. Chavan sir, for valuable guidance. And now I would like to request our principal, Dr. Vinayak Jadhav, chairperson of this inaugural session, to preside over this session. Dr. Vinayak Jadhav is at present working as principal of our SHIVAJI MAHAVIDYALAYA Udgir. Previous to this position, he was working as a head and associate professor of statistics in Science College, Nanded. He was also acting principal there for a year. And he has 30 years of teaching experience at UG and PG level, and specializes operations research and agricultural statistics. He has also worked on different academic bodies and committees, which include chairman of the Board of Studies in Statistics, member of Academic Council, member of Standing Committee of S.R.T.M.University, as well as member of the management from teachers category, that is teacher representative of Nanded Education Society. So far, there are 13 books, many papers, good publications to his credit. 5 students awarded doctorate under his guidance, and rest students are the work of rest students is in progress. I request Principal Dr. Jadhav sir to preside over.
My friend Dr. Tamboli sir, Principal, MU College Udgir. Inaugural speaker Dr. Dilip Chavan from S.R.T.M.U. Nanded. Dr. Dilip Madam from People's College Nanded. Organizing faculties Dr. Naulesa from SHIVAJI College, Dr. Nagori Madam from MU College, and their colleagues, all the speakers of 18 lectures, and all the student participants enrolled from different institutes of Swami Ramananda Tirth Marathwada University, Nanded. I, as the foreigner of esteemed concern, quality education for the advancement of masses, greet you on behalf of SHIVAJI Mahavidyalaya, founded by Kisan Shikshan Prasarak Mandal, Udgir. It is only in our darkest hours that we may discover the true strength of the brilliant light within ourselves that can never ever be dimmed. Human beings all over the world have witnessed, and we witnessing those hours. Information technology, mass communication in a broader sense, and means of social networking have proved their essence in those hours. I appreciate the efforts taken by the organizing faculty of Department of English, SHIVAJI Mahavidyalaya Udgir, and Maharashtra Udayagiri Mahavidyalaya Udgir under the Memorandum of Understanding of both institutes. Concerning the urgency and need of the students, this joint venture of 18 lectures is imagined and organized in such a short period of time, that is within 2 to 3 days, seems a Herculean task. All the speakers of 18 lectures have the authority of their topics on such a short notice that accepted our request. The number of participants is well over 1,500. Itself suggests that the requirement of the proceeding. Surely the guest lecture series will be very fruitful to all the student participants from S.R.T.M.U. Nanded area. I thank Dr. Dilip Chavan sir for his consent. I highly esteem that the MU College and the Department of English got associated with our concerns. I hope that this series would approximate the expected outcome of the student. Thank you and best of luck to the organizing committee members. Thank you all.
Thank you, Principal Dr. Jadhav, sir. Now I request Dr. S.R. Nagori Lakhotiya ma'am to propose the vote of thanks of this inaugural session. Then we will proceed to our session first of resource persons.
Good morning once again. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I'm here to propose the vote of thanks. Initially, I would like to thank the chairperson, Dr. V.A. Jadhav, sir, Principal, SHIVAJI MAHAVIDYALAYA, for chairing the session. I would also like to put on record the esteemed presence of our principal, that is Dr. Tamboli, sir, for being present and addressing the people or the participants. I would like to put on record the ever-supporting principal. Also, the chief guest of the inaugural function, Dr. Dilip Chavan, needs very special thanks for accepting our invitation at a very, very short notice. I know he's very busy, and despite that, he has accepted our invitation. So, sir, thank you very much for sparing time with us. And in his address, he has shown us the realistic plight of the pandemic situation, and this plight, how it affects the people, the students, and all the public in general. Dr. Dhananjay Deolalkar's special presence is a matter of great pride for us. And I also thank all the faculties, resource persons, principals, and all the people and student participants who have joined and attended this inaugural session. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Lakhotiya ma'am. Here, I declare that inaugural session is over, and we are going to start session one. Honorable Principal, if you desire, you may listen because very wonderful speakers are there. But I'm seeing that you have very heavy administrative work. You may concentrate there also. It is up to your choice. Once again, thank you. And now I would like to start the session first. That is BA Optional English, third year, Introduction to Literary Criticism. For this session, we have two eminent scholars as our resource persons. Dr. Dhananjay Deolalkar, Associate Professor, Department of English, Vidarbha, Institute of Science and Humanities, Amravati, who will talk on his topic, Tradition and Individual Talent, T.S. Eliot. And second speaker, Professor Dr. Manisha Gahilot, Professor of English, People's College, Nanded, who will talk on her topic, Greek Masters, Aristotle. Let me introduce briefly the first speaker, Dr. Dhananjay Prabhakar Deolalkar, who has 20 years teaching experience at UG in PG level. He worked in different government colleges, including Mumbai and Kolhapur. And at present, he is in Department of English Government, Vidarbha Institute of Science and Humanities, Amravati, as I already said, as associate professor. He is known for clearing critical concepts of criticism in simple ways among his students. He has also translated some stories from English to Marathi. He is fond of music. I personally visited his native also and his Kolhapur residence. He is found even also practicing Gandhi's principle and his way of simple way of life. He has not only translated few texts from different source languages to other target languages, but also translated dreams of many students from diverse background to fulfill their aspirations. I welcome Dr. Deolalkar and request for his talk. I will introduce Dr. Gahilot at her session because Dr. Deolalkar has an urgency of attending a meeting, what he just talked to me on phone. Dr. Deolalkar, please proceed in brief.
Thank you, Arvind. Thank you for your kind words. I try to be worthy of your words, that what you have said in introducing me. The topic which has been given to me, I'm always in the crunch of time. That means the struggle of human is struggle with time. Tradition and Individual Talent is a famous essay by T.S. Eliot, first written in 1909, published in Egoist. Later on, it is published in his collection called The Sacred Wood. And in this essay, what Eliot is trying to say about the tradition, because his definition of tradition is not something as dead and past. he is about to talk about tradition as a continuous phenomena. And while talking about the tradition, he also says the importance of the old poets and old writers. He says that the whole European literature is with him at all the times. You can't have analysis of a poet, any literary artist, as an individual. You have to compare him. You have to measure him in reference to something. So it's a very paradox that T.S. Eliot is a modern poet, but he is talking about the tradition. But his tradition is not something talking about the past as such. He says that past changes. He has used the term called historical sense. Each and every poet, each and every creative writer must have historical sense. That historical sense means the meaning that knowing the pastness of the past and knowing the presence of the past in present. That means Shakespeare is contemporary, Homer is contemporary, Kalidas is contemporary, and the contemporary poets are there. No individual poet. You must know the tradition in order to break tradition also. You can't have your own way of saying. If we look at Marathi poetry, we say that all the poets, Marathi poets, accept the death of Sant Jnaneshwar and Tukaram and all Sant poetry in Marathi, because any poet, if he wants to be a poet, he has to know about the tradition. And by knowing the tradition, by digesting the tradition, he has to use his individual talent to create something new. So individual talent is also important and tradition is also important. So T.S. Eliot's essay is divided into three parts. The first part speaks about the tradition. The second part speaks about the relationship between the writer and the work of art. And third part is the conclusion of what he has said. So in the first part, he is talking about the importance of all old writers. And he says that the old writers are not keeping somewhere at the place. The entry of a new writing will change the place of all those writers writing earlier. Nothing is permanent. Even the value of literature is not permanent. So Shakespeare, Kalidas, Homer, Eliot, John Milton, T.S. Eliot, and modern poet, all these are going to be considered together. That is his sense of tradition. So tradition is ever changing. The material which is used by the poets and something that has been expressed, that expression is going to give the beauty to the life. So literature has its own value, as Dilip Chavan sir has said in his introductory lecture and keynote address, that what T.S. Eliot is anti-romantic. When Wordsworth says that poetry is spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings recollected in tranquility, and it is expression of personality, Eliot says it is not. It is not expression of personality. It is not a turning loose of emotion. It is escape from the personality. More the artist away from the work of art, the greater will be the art. The more universal it will be. That means the person's personality should not be there. Who is interested in reading your autobiographical elements? No, I am not. Nobody is. So your autobiographical elements will not be there. But your passion, your emotions, your feelings will reach unto the level of universality. Any reader has to feel that it is his or her poem. It is his or her novel. And that's the universality. So all the universal writers, if you say that the writer is universal, literature is universal. Literature does not mind with the boundaries of the caste, creed, religion, and country. We do like Shakespeare, we do like Kalidas, we do like Leo Tolstoy, we do like all the writers from all over the world, because they are humans and talking about the humans. The second part of the essay is about the man who suffers and the man who creates. For Eliot, these are two people, the man who suffers and the man who creates. And he has taken the analogy of a chemical reaction. In chemistry, most of the reactions are carried in presence of a catalyst. So A and B is added in presence of a catalyst C, and we get the product D. He has taken the example of oxygen and sulfur dioxide. In presence of platinum, we get a sulfurous acid. Now, in the final product, we do not have any shred, any essence of platinum over there. Platinum remains aloof. A poet is like a platinum. He is a catalyst. He has the experiences, feelings, and experiences which he will get convert it into the work of art. But a writer is no more over there. A writer is aloof. A writer is away, as catalyst is in chemistry. So, and he also says that instead of pointing our attention towards the poet, it is necessary that poetry is important. So this essay is also considered as the beginning of a new criticism. Poem as a co-poem. What is for the study? Poem is just for the study, not the poet. So if you don't know anything about the personal life of William Shakespeare, very few things we know about him, but his plays are very much accepted. His plays are very much understood, studied, read, and again interpreted in a different manner. So what T.S. Eliot is trying to say, that tradition is important, individual talent is important, and you will get a literary work of art that will be beneficial to all the world because it will cross the limit of the caste, creed, country, and it will be universal. So in a concluding part of that essay, he says that the tradition has to be studied, has to be digested, has to be read, understood, assimilated, and using your individual talent, you have to create a work of art that will transcend the limitations of your personality, and it will become more and more universal, and then it will become timeless also. I have to go for the other meeting. Thanks for giving me a chance to speak for a few minutes about tradition and individual talent. I thank the organizers for giving me the opportunity. Thank you very much. Arvind.
Thank you, Dr. Dhananjay. Short but very sweet, wonderful. Okay. In fact, you are a master, specialized, renowned in this field, but you have an official meeting that you have just communicated me through phone. No problem.
Please, please.
Okay, thank you. You may leave, you may join your meeting, no problem. And even though your work is over, you may rejoin. Okay, to listen to Dr. Gehlot, ma'am. Now, I would like to welcome Dr. Manisha Gehlot, ma'am, who is the speaker of the second session on criticism. She is a professor, PG, and it's a department of English, People's College, Nanded, a renowned college of this university. She is also a member of Board of Studies in English with me and Faculty of Arts. She is recipient of Young Achievers Award for her contribution in the field of education by Nanded Vagala Mahanagarpalika. She received it in Women's Day. She has also worked previously as a faculty at Trade Wings at Aviation Center. 5 PhD and 34 MPhil scholars are awarded under her guidance. She has published 5 books, many papers, edited textbooks, delivered many talks, and so on. I welcome Dr. Gehlot sir, Gehlot ma'am, for her vetted talk.
Thank you, sir.
Please.
Hello, everyone. Respected Naule sir, Lakhotiya ma'am, Deolalkar sir, teacher participants, and dear students. I thank the organizers to invite me for this in this lecture series, and at the same time, I also congratulate them in such times when students are confused and baffled with both the lectures as well as the exam pattern. So thank you for inviting me. My topic for today's lecture is Aristotle. Keeping in mind the expanse of undergraduate students, because this lecture series is meant for undergraduate students, I had tried to confine this to the undergraduate level. And another factor which I had kept in mind while framing this lecture of mine is the exam pattern which the students are going to take. It is MCQ exams which the students are going to take. So I have made it, deliberately I have made it an effort so as to help the students understand this. Before moving to Aristotle, I'll take a minute to explain that when we as students of literary criticism, when we begin our study, the first scholars which we study are the Greek masters. The first scholar among the Greek masters is Plato. And Plato, when we talk of Plato, Plato does not speak very favorably about poetry and literature, because he didn't believe poets to be favorable for his, republic and all that. But his disciple Aristotle had a different view altogether. So I wanted to begin with Aristotle, and moving towards my topic, the Greek master Aristotle. I have divided this lecture into 3 sections. First section is an introduction to Aristotle. In the second section, we will be discussing poetics at length. And in the third and concluding section, we will be talking about the value of poetics in the contemporary times. So moving towards the introductory section of Aristotle. Aristotle was born in 384 BC at Stagira to the father Nicomachus and mother Phaetis. He was born in a very well-to-do family. His father used to work for the emperor. He was in the court of the emperor. And so, though he was born in a small town of Stagira, by the age of 17, he shifted to Athens. Athens, which was the center of art and literature in those times, and he became the disciple of Plato. Initially, he studied biology for 2 years, but very soon he realized that his mind was more towards the other disciplines as well. Here, I would also like to state that when we study these ancient writers, we call them scholars because their writings, their ideas are not confined to one discipline, but you will find Aristotle being studied by the student of literature, by the student of political science, by the student of sociology. So we find that these writers were so versatile that they have given away their ideas in all the disciplines, all the possible disciplines. So Aristotle, though he began his study of biology, very soon he realized that his ideas could not be confined to a small discipline. And that is the reason we see that Aristotle moving towards literature, political science, and other disciplines. And later on, he also became the tutor of the Prince of Alexander, Alexander the Great, the Prince of Macedonia, Alexander the Great. In the year 315 BC, he started his own school called Peripatetic School, under which he gave education to different students. And it was only during these lectures that poetics as a doctrine was formed. There is controversy about poetics, whether Aristotle has deliberately written poetics or was it a compilation of lectures given by poetics. So not spending more time on the controversy and concentrating on the constructive elements, we see that Aristotle, as I called him a scholar earlier, he had more than 400 volumes published under his name from various disciplines. To quote a few, dialogues on monarchy, history, logic, physics, metaphysics, politics, and poetics are his major works. Most of his ideas about literature and poetry we find them in poetics. And so we will be discussing poetics at length because it is a doctrine of drama which is applicable even today. If you see the plan of poetics, if you see the different elements of poetics, you will see that all the aspects of drama are covered in that. Poetics is a book which is divided into 26 chapters and 45 pages. These 26 chapters are further divided into 6 sections. The first section, it has introductory remarks on poetry, tragedy, and comedy. And the first section also discusses the theory of imitation. The second section is devoted to tragedy. The definition of tragedy and the formative elements of tragedy are discussed in this section. Section 3 discusses the poetic diction, style, vocabulary, thought, and other important aspects of drama. Section 4 talks about the narrative poetry and tragedy. Section 5 speaks about the comparison between epic and tragedy. And the last sections, like section number 6, it talks about the remarks or the criticism of poetry, the allegations made by Plato and other scholars on poetry, and how Aristotle tries to defend them. Okay, so moving on to the second section or second part of the lecture, we will be discussing these 6 sections at length. To begin with, the first section, Aristotle, he discusses his theory of imitation. According to Aristotle, imitation is common to all arts, but these arts differ by the way of medium of imitation, manner of imitation, and the objects of imitation. Let me give you an example. Poetry differs from painting and dancing and music. Here, the medium of expression or the medium of imitation is different. Poetry further is divided into epic, drama, and other genres. Here, the manner of imitation is different. Dramatic poetry is further divided into tragedy, comedy, and other aspects. Here, the object of imitation is different. So what Aristotle tries to explain us is that all arts are divided into 2, fine arts and useful arts. Except mathematics and physics, all arts fall in the section of fine arts, but these fine arts are further divided by the medium of imitation, the manner of imitation, and the object of imitation. When you go into higher classes like PG, you will find a Marathi scholar called Mardekar, Basi Mardekar. He criticizes this theory of imitation given by Aristotle very brutally, but that is not a topic to be talked about now. So these are the 3, this is the theory of imitation given by Plato. Given by Aristotle. All arts are imitations, but they differ by way of medium, manner, and object. According to Aristotle, there are 2 types of or 2 kinds of poetry: heroic poetry, which we study under the title of tragedy, and satire, which we study under the title of comedy. According to Aristotle, tragedy is greater than epic. Again, I repeat, tragedy is greater than epic because epic has all the elements of tragedy, but tragedy does not have all the elements of epic. And therefore, Aristotle believed that tragedy is superior as a genre than epic. Moving towards the second part, which is the definition of poetry and the formative elements of poetry, Aristotle defines tragedy as the imitation of an action, serious, complete, and of a certain magnitude, in a language beautified in different parts with different kinds of embellishments, through actions and not narrations, and through scenes of pity and fear, bringing about the catharsis. Catharsis is the purgation of the emotion of pity and fear, and an inseparable part of tragedy, bringing about the catharsis of these emotions. In this section, Aristotle discusses 6 constituent parts of tragedy. The first and the most important constituent part of a tragedy is a plot. The second one, character. Third, thought. Fourth, diction. Fifth, song. And the 6th element is spectacle. According to Aristotle, the 6th element is an optional element. A dramatist may or may not use it in his drama. So to begin with, we will be discussing the first and the most important constituent part of tragedy, which is plot. According to Aristotle, a plot should be complete. It should be an organic whole WHOLE. It should have a proper beginning, a proper middle, and a proper end. What is a proper beginning? A beginning from which further action flows naturally is a proper beginning. Middle is something which is inevitable of what has gone before. And a perfect end is a satisfying end with poetic justice. What is poetic justice? Where the good is rewarded and the bad is punished. Aristotle strongly spoke about the poetic justice in drama because Aristotle believed that if the poetic justice does not happen in a drama or it does not take place in a drama, then the people will lose faith in God. Therefore, to restore the faith of the spectators and people, it was necessary that the good was rewarded and the bad was punished. So poetic justice was very important according to Aristotle. Aristotle speaks about three types of plots. One, simple plot. Second, a complex plot. And third, the episodic plot. A simple plot did not have peripetia and anagnorisis in it. Peripetia and anagnorisis are two Greek literary terms. They speak about discovery and the reversal of action. A simple plot began and moved in one direction and ended. But a complex plot had peripetia and anagnorisis, which means there were certain discoveries which were made. The action moved forward and backward, like we have flashbacks in the serials and the movies. And an episodic plot was a plot where there was breaking, there was no organic unity. Aristotle, he favored complex plot. Aristotle believed that a complex plot, when used by a dramatist in his drama, created more curiosity among the spectators, and it provided a perfect catharsis to the spectators, thereby taking drama to a higher plateau. Organic unity was very necessary or essential for any good plot. Moving towards character, according to Aristotle, the second most important component of a tragedy was character. A good character, according to Aristotle, should have four characteristics. First, he must not be too good nor too bad. He must be humane. The weaknesses that normal human beings, the same weaknesses should be present in the protagonist, and the goodness also should be there. He should be true to his type, appropriate character. If a prince was a protagonist, he should behave, he should walk like a prince. If a king or if a queen is a protagonist, she should behave and she should talk like a queen. So this is appropriate character. They must have likeness and they must have consistency. The consistency and the integrity in a character were considered very important according to Aristotle. When Aristotle speaks about tragic hero, he speaks about another Greek term called hamartia. A tragic hero should have all the good qualities in him, but there should be one such quality which would bring about his fall. That is considered as hamartia. If you take or if you see the major tragedies of Shakespeare, Hamlet, Othello, Macbeth, or King Lear, the protagonists are very good. They are too good, but they all have one quality which brings about their fall. In King Lear, flattery was the hamartia of King Lear. In Hamlet, indecisiveness was the hamartia of Hamlet. In Othello, suspicion was hamartia. And in Macbeth, over ambition was the hamartia. So according to Aristotle, every tragic hero should have one quality which was which would bring about his fall, because all the constituent elements of a tragedy move towards one single goal, and that is having a perfect catharsis. So we find that all these constituent elements, they contributed towards having a perfect catharsis. Now, while discussing about character, Aristotle also speaks about unities. Today, when we study unities, we study three unities: unity of place, unity of time, and unity of action. But if you study the manuscript of Aristotle's Poetics, you will find, or you'll come across, only two unities. One, unity of time, which means that the time which a tragedy takes to, a tragedy takes should be one circle of sun, that is 24 hours. A tragedy should begin and finish within 24 hours, maintaining the magnitude of a drama. If a drama is too lengthy, then by the time it reaches the end, the beginning is forgotten by the spectators. And this results in an ineffective catharsis. So according to Aristotle, the magnitude of a drama, a magnitude of a tragedy was very important. And what was it? It was a one complete circle of sun. The second unity which Aristotle speaks about is unity of action. There are, in a tragedy or in a drama, there are many actions which take place. Unity of an action means that there should be a chain of logical actions. With two actions, they should be connected logically, and it should lead to an expected effect. If the dramatist makes use of illogical actions, the spectator lose their interest in a drama. We watch movies, a movie with a perfect screenplay grips us to the seat, but a movie with a loose screenplay, we just lose interest in that. So every drama should have a perfect unity of actions which move so logically that it does not allow the spectator to think. The spectator also moves with the action. The third type of unity which Aristotle speaks about is unity of place. But according to Aristotle, unity of place is not necessary to be maintained. A writer may or may not make use of unity of place. The function of tragedy was to give a perfect catharsis. So these are the two constituent parts that we study in section 2. Moving on to the section 3, we talk about thought. Thought, according to Aristotle, is the power of saying. Literature, the function of literature is to teach and delight. Thought comes in the teaching part. Any piece of literature, be it a small story or a epic, look at the range. Every piece of literature teaches us something. The first story which we all were told about was a story of the hare and the turtle. And after the completion of the story, we were told what is the moral of the story. Slow and steady wins the race. So this small story, which we all have heard, seen, or read at the age of 5 or 6 years, even that small piece of literature teaches us something. So how could a tragedy be without teaching? Thought is the third more important constituent part of any tragedy. And Aristotle believes that thought is essential because it is the power of saying. It is the teaching element in literature. Thought is an intellectual element in a tragedy, expressed through characters. And therefore, we find that thought was very important. Diction is the fourth element of tragedy. Diction is language. The thought, the character, and the plot all are conveyed through language. So language is very important. But Aristotle thought that only the parliamentary language should be used in a drama or in a tragedy. The language has to be the one which can be used in a decent company, in a company of gentlemen and gentlewomen. So, diction is an inseparable part, and the last two elements are song and spectacle. These are the embellishments of tragedy. Songs come through the chorus. Chorus, as we all know, was an inseparable part of tragedy. Chorus came before the beginning of tragedy, in the middle of tragedy, and after the end of tragedy. So chorus forms the fifth important constituent part of tragedy, which is song. Spectacle was not, or rather the spectacle or the scenic effects have more to do with the stagecraft and not with the writing craft. So we see that spectacle was an optional element which is forwarded by Aristotle. And one more thing that he speaks about diction is that the diction should be clear in a tragedy. It should not be mean. This is important, that a diction should be clear, it should be vivid and not mean. The fourth and the fifth parts of poetics, which is about narrative poetry and tragedy. Here there is a comparison between tragedy and epic. Aristotle repeats what he mentions in the first chapter, that epic should have all the principles, epic should follow the principles of tragedy, especially in regards of the magnitude of tragedy. As a tragedy has a perfect magnitude, the epic should also follow the same principle. The biggest drawback of epic, according to Aristotle, is the length of an epic. And he also mentions that a epic has one principal plot and several subplots to it, which kills the interest of the spectator. So in this section, we see that Aristotle suggests that epic be as refined as tragedy. Here he mentions that tragedy is superior to epic. Moving on to the last section, which was where Aristotle clears the objections given by posed by the critics on poetry. These are specially focused on the 5 attacks which Plato made on poetry, that the poetry does not speak reality, it is fake, it is false. Aristotle answers this question by saying that poetry is not reality, but it is a higher reality. Poetry speaks not only about the physical status, but also the mental, the spiritual, and the emotional status of a man. And therefore, poetry is much more higher than the reality. Aristotle also mentions that poetry transcends facts and reality. Poetry is so poetry has been moving on the earth from the time the man is moving on the earth. The things which philosophy fails to teach are taught by poetry. Poetry not only teaches you, but it also encourages you. It moves you towards positive action. It moves you towards moves you towards the faith of God. And so Aristotle, he tries to answer all the allegations which were laid by his teacher Plato. And though he's a very good student of Plato, we find that when it comes to poetry, Aristotle differs from Plato. Plato believed that poetry only delights. Aristotle Aristotle has a different opinion. Aristotle believed that poetry teaches and delights. And this is where we come to an end of the second part of the lecture. Moving towards conclusion, what is the value of poetics in the contemporary times? The fact that poetics is being taught, studied, researched in the schools, colleges, even today, gives very clearly the value of poetics. The ideas which were given by Aristotle in Poetics are followed even today. Poetics happens to be a manifesto for the dramatist, and all try to use it as much as possible. We find that the great master Shakespeare very meticulously follows all the rules which were levied in Aristotle's Poetics, and it is prescribed to the students or in the syllabus even today. I guess this tells us enough about the value of poetics. Dr. Uh, Aristotle, he died in 322 BC because of the disease of digestive organ at Chalchi in Greece. And this is where we come to an end of a lecture, a small lecture on Aristotle, confining its scope to the undergraduate students. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Manisha ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Wonderfully, you talked on Aristotle. Now, I would like to conclude this session, and I'm thankful to Dr. Deolalkar and Dr. Gahilot ma'am once again. We will take a pause, like little break, and I think that it is about to start at sharp 12. Okay, with 20 minutes we have. Okay, we will take a break for tea break, etc. Once again, thank you. Very wonderful, Manishadi. Beautiful, wonderful, super. I'm closing this session. I'm as a session in charge host. I'm thankful to all of you, particularly the chairperson, principal of my college, Dr. Jadhav sir, principal of MU College, Dr. R.R. Tamboli sir, for his welcome speech, and for Dr. Jadhav for presiding over the session. And already Dr. Lakhotiya ma'am has proposed the vote of thanks of the inauguration, and the panelists and the committee members from MU College and my colleagues of SMU Engineering Department. Thank you, and I am closing the session. The second session will start at the dot 12 at the given time. I was afraid of that if it is loomed large, we may have faced a 10 minutes delay. No problem there is. I request all the committee members to post the link to our students, because it thinks that our mails are not reached to student. We will do something at evening how they would reach to them. Okay, thank you. I'm closing the session. Thank you.